Hello, welcome to part 2 of Reflexology History. Let's begin by asking ourselves, what else do we think we know for sure today? Our most famous part of reflexology history is this wall carving, or what we are seeing, a commercial papyrus to be more exact. This famous wall carving is accompanied with hieroglyphics, and it was found in the mastaba of Ankh-Mahor. Ankh-Mahor's mastaba is located in the necropolis of Saqqara, and not in the desert of Sahara, as I read occasionally on the internet. The story goes that Ed and Ellen Case discovered this concrete proof in 1979. Once they discovered it, they had it interpreted in order to reveal the hidden meaning of this pictograph. Of course, they called in a specialist. This was Mohammed El-Awani of Visions, Travel, and Tours in Ancient Egypt. And in Kristen Issel's book, we read El-Awani is explaining, looking at the commercially reproduced scene, the dark ones who have hair in the curly African style are from Upper Egypt, and they are obviously the practitioners. And it goes on. So, the last 40 years, we have this idea about the history of reflexology, and it's based on a tour guide. As for the dialogue, according to the Papyrus Institute in Cairo, the hieroglyphic above the scene reads, "Do not let it be painful," says one of the patients. "I do as you please," an attendant replies. I would like to add here that for me personally, this very small dialogue holds all the truth and meaning of how a reflexology session should go. But getting back to our belief that this is reflexology, some people today, and I'm speaking about the Egyptians, seem to have a different opinion even about that. But we will see that a little later. Here you see two different types of ancient Egyptian tomes. Can you guess which is the mastaba? It is the one with the form of a flat-roofed rectangular structure. Mastabas were constructed out of mud bricks or stone. Something else out of interest is, what does Ankh mean and what does it represent? It is probably one of the most popular symbols from ancient Egypt. Its meaning and use still has to be clarified. The Ankh, though, is illustrated in the mastaba of Ankh-Mahor, or a physician's tome as it is known. Ankh-Mahor is said to not have been a physician, but a Ka priest. Now, it is said that if an Ankh or Ankh-like tool, such as a chicken breast bone used in Africa, for example, is moved around the body, it will vibrate in areas where an ailment is often found. The concept is much like finding water, gems, metals, or other objects with a Y or L-shaped twig or rod, or dowsing as it is known to be called. The question, of course, remains, was the Ankh a tool of this nature? Please take caution from this point on. Here we see a nice picture of the entrance of the mastaba of Ankh-Mahor. The tomb was excavated by Victor Loret in 1899. Ankh-Mahor held the titles of vizier, first after the king, overseer of the great house. This tomb is also known as the tomb of the physician. Why? Because the bas-reliefs depict the foot operation and the circumcision in addition to the usual scenes of daily life. But though this information comes from the internet and specifically from tourist sites, Mrs. Issel's book describes that the tomb has 6 wall carvings, which include circumcision, childbirth, pharmacology, embalming, dentistry, and that what seems to be reflexology. If this is true, that the scene we saw before and know very well is reflexology, let us never forget the other 5 wall carvings, because they are recognized today as medical practice. The mastaba also has a wall carving of what is known as the first example, first description of a cardiac arrest, and that of Ankh-Mahor. The women next to him are in mourning. At an educational site, we find this picture. You can follow the link and check it out yourselves. It's somewhere in the middle of the page. And you can see the description says, foot surgery, tome of Egyptian physician Sesi. A lot of confusion. But on another site, we read, another relief shows a foot operation being performed, cited by many reflexologists as proof of ancient alternative therapies practiced on the hands and feet. So we believe it, not the Academic Society of Egypt. Reflexologists believe this. Somewhere else on the site of Egyptopia, we read down below, another relief shows a foot operation being performed, cited by many reflexologists as proof of ancient alternative therapies practiced on both the hands and feet. It is us reflexologists that are doing the description, no one else. The link on the right, as you can see in blue letters, leads you to an educational site where you will read at the end. Again, there is also depictions of a foot being operated, which has led reflexologists to think that their practice was also present in ancient Egypt, which one could seriously doubt. Now that I think about it, there are no famous reflexology schools from Egypt, are there? Quite interesting, isn't it? Here again we see another wall carving, but this time it is from the Camuna Valley. In 2006, at the Rian Conference in Ireland, Carlo Ungaro, member of the FIRP Association, presented these findings. You can follow the link to my blog and read more about it, or contact FIRP yourselves. Now, Dr. William Fitzgerald is very famous. You all know him, and I hope that his history is concrete and valid. What I'd like to say about him is that his book, Zone Therapy or Relieving Pain at Home, you can read or upload the book for free through a link from my blog. It's on the bottom right side. Continuing on the history of reflexology, Eunice Ingham is probably the person that has offered the most. And one can only understand her contribution if they actually read Christine Issel's new book, The Biography of Eunice Ingham. I do believe that Ingham was influenced by Hippocrates, because when I read her book, I see similarities. But we will get to that on another occasion. Her most famous quote holds a lot of truth, and we will be getting to that on the fourth part of my presentation on the history of reflexology. Keep it in mind. The question to be answered is the following. Was something similar documented in ancient Greece? The pictures you are seeing are not reflexology representations, though they could pass as some. The proof that something similar was practiced in ancient Greece can be found in Cornelius Kels's book of De Medicina. You can read or upload the book for free from a link again from my blog, Latin text and English text. In the third presentation, we will be looking more into this information.